Okay, so that's cheese in Spanish, right? Anyway, so in addition to my phone acquiring new ownership, the phone mount deal thing had its last gasp today as well. So now I'm back to this it's simpler, you know. It's a simpler mount. I think I can still. I might still be able to film videos with it. I don't know. Who knows? I might just be back to holding it with my hands. You know, my sweaty paws. Is maybe back to the roots. You know, back to the roots of the channel. This is kind of a response to Matt's video. I watched a few of Matt's videos on the way to San Francisco because I was in sort of a mood, you know, bad things happening and phones getting stolen and, you know, phone mounts breaking, all these horrible things, you know. And I immediately forgot that I got to spend time with Jax today and see all the family and all these other things. So, you know, like, kind of got me into a little bit of a bad mood, but not too much of a bad mood because I don't really care. But I wanted to address some of the things Matt was talking about recently. Okay, so one of them is Stephen Hawking and his theories. Stephen Hawking. So, come on, let me. So this theory is the Big Bang thing. Okay, so as far as I understand time, as it has been explained, this thing called time was derived from the motion of the planets around the sun. Yeah. So a year is the Earth going around the sun one full revolution, and a day is the Earth turning itself around one full revolution. And then you chop that turn into 24 bits and call those hours, and then chop those up into 60 bits and call them minutes, and then chop each of those up into 60 more bits and call those seconds, right? So it's all based off of apparent motion of planetary bodies. So, to talk about, like, if a second this way or that way, you know, immediately after the Big Bang, it's just you're not saying anything at that point, because you're talking about something that supposedly happened before the planetary motions were established in some sort of familiar routine. So whatever words you were saying regarding the situation after this so-called Big Bang, you can't apply the word 1 second. Whatever word, you probably can't apply any words to it whatsoever. You shouldn't even be saying these two words, Big Bang, in the first place. Those should never have left whoever's mouth uttered those things. It's incorrect. But being that they did make those words, these words Big Bang, you should realize that you can't apply something like second to something that happened before the physical movements that established the thing that we call seconds in the first place. So you have to find some different language to explain it, or else you gotta build a time machine and go back there and video camera the Big Bang and then time it, and then say, okay, this is like a reverse application of the concept of time, and this is why it works, and blah bitty blah bitty blah. And then maybe you could make the thing work if you do enough acrobatics with the concept, but probably not. So that's just my thoughts on this thing that's called the Big Bang, which is just sounds ridiculous in the first place. it's not a con, okay? I know Matt kind of gets, you know, Matt's comfort zone is where it's just like you kind of feel down about everything, but it's not. I don't think it's a con. I feel like we have the capacity as creator beings to dramatize, however you say that word, to make dramatic any and every situation that we find ourselves in. And since we have become big-brained mammals that are not content with living in the present moment where everything is provided for us, we must extend out and project into fantasy illusory land, which becomes fantasy the moment you get 1 second back in the past. It's fantasy. Okay, so you might as well be applying all of these crazy theories to 1 second in the past, which is just as fantasy land as to talk about in the very beginning. We know nothing about either of them. We don't know anything about 1 second ago, and we don't know anything about 2 billion years ago, and we don't know anything about the beginning, and there wasn't the beginning anyway. So all of this talk of creation, every single word that we say is ridiculous. Like there's not any word that humans say that makes any relevance to anything. We're just blobbity making noises and stuff, and that's all that's happening. And it's fine to do that. It's good to make noises. You know, we have vocal cords for some reason, so it's good to say things and stuff. But as far as explaining origins of physical matter and energetic matter and spirituality and the universe and so on and so forth ad infinitum, our words don't do it any justice whatsoever. None. We have no idea. But outside of the fact that we have no idea, if you look at the situation with your eyeballs and with your mind, and your mind can understand things, it just can't explain like how things came to be in the first place. It can only kind of like with words feel its way around the thing. So if you take a more respectful stance to the existence and see that it's somewhat of a quandary, and that our minds can't understand it, and that we don't know what happened 1 second ago, and we don't know how the physical present moment somehow turns into an untangible memory 1 second after the thing is happening, and then it's constantly refreshing every second. We have no fucking clue, pardon my French, how this is going on whatsoever. Not one clue, at least not in this form. And then immediately after we establish that we have zero clues about how this is working, we examine it again and see, okay, now does me not having one fucking clue about how this is working have any bearing on whether it's working or how well it's working, as far as the physical things that are interacting with each other? And then you can examine that thought and say, okay, I have no clue how this is working, don't know how it got started, don't know how it's gonna end, don't know if it started, don't know if it's gonna end, don't know how anything is working. But now that I've established that I have no clue, I can, within the next thought, say, okay, how well is everything working? Outside of my understanding how it's working in the first place, how well is it working? You know, like if I drop a ball, is it kind of like glitching as it's shooting toward the ground? And outside of whether I have a theory called gravity that tries to explain with words what's happening when I drop the ball, is the thing kind of doing what it's supposed to do when I drop it? And you drop the ball, and then you see, and then you're like, okay, it fell down, you know, bounced up, and I can smack it again, it fall down, bounce up again, and oh yeah, it works. Everything's working great. The thing is working great, and it does not give a flying fuck whether I understand how it's working. It doesn't care. You can call that thing God. You can call this, even if we were in a simulation, or if we were in an ancestor simulation, or if we're in some super elaborate video game where our soul essences got captured by alien forces from Tralmalfador, and now we're in here as you know, some TV show for extraterrestrials, which our minds can't comprehend. It doesn't matter. It's working properly. It's working as it's supposed to be working. It doesn't matter if we understand it or not. We can't understand it at this level. We know how to walk, we know how to run, we know how to everything. We know how to interact here physically. And the idea that we need to understand how the reality is put together It's ridiculous. We don't understand it. We can't understand it. It's infinite, and there's just nothing to do about it. Humans want to feel powerful, so they make up all these theories and write all kinds of books about how things are working, and then the thing itself that they're writing about still gives zero flying fucks about what they're doing whatsoever. They're fully allowed to do it, make up all kinds of bullshit, and the reality itself gives no shits whatsoever. Doesn't care. It's probably laughing. It's probably like, or God, you know, God's just like uproariously just laughing his ass off wherever the hell he is, or he's inside of you laughing his ass off, you know, when you stop being serious for 2 seconds. So that's that. I think if you just simply look at the emotional characteristics that are making up your present moment and try to lean towards the ones that make you feel more decent rather than like a piece of shit, or rather than like an ungrateful asshole, then your life will probably be better overall if you do that. And again, whether or not you understand how all this came into being has no bearing whatsoever on how well the thing itself is working at all. But you're completely allowed to dwell on that and rack your brains and trying to figure out how this thing is working. You can do that from the start. You might end up looking like Stephen Hawking with your everything like just stops working because you're trying to figure it out so hard that the thing itself is trying to figure itself out doesn't even work anymore because it's like some sort of self-transmuting paradox. I don't know. I just know that it doesn't need us to sit here and like manage while it's happening. We're here to move the bodies around, to communicate with other humans, and to do stuff, whatever, you know? It's not that important. I don't think we're here saving the realm. I don't think we're here saving anybody or anything. I think we're simply here doing stuff. We don't understand it all necessarily. But we know how to be kind to one another. We know how not to be complete dicks. We know how to forgive people that steal cell phones out of our cars, you know, even after we get mad at it. We know how to do these things. They're simple, and we have things we enjoy. There are hobbies, you know, hang out with the kids. If the law system, sorry, Stephen hasn't, or if just asshole humans aren't stopping you from seeing them, you know, like there's just stuff that's going on and we have to deal with it. We're not gonna figure it out. Like Matt is saying, we're not gonna figure it out. But nothing's stopping us from playing, from communicating with each other, from banging on George Bush's house and saying, why, bro, why? You know, nothing's stopping anybody from doing stuff. And that goes back to there's too much freedom here sometimes. Like we get so caught up in our conceptualization of the realm that we forget that the present moment is the only thing that's real. You can do whatever you want in it. I don't recall ever having wanted to do something, started doing it, and then somebody came up and like put a clamp on me physically and said, you can't do that. You know, for the most part, that doesn't happen. We're not in a communist place, you know, the money system sucks ass and all this, but it doesn't matter. Things are what they are. My phone got stolen, the phone mount broke. Okay, those are two minor things, you know. Everything is still rolling along. I don't really give a shit that happened. Stuff happens anyway. At least the car didn't get stolen. And, you know, stuff goes on. Everything keeps moving. Matt will continue to make videos complaining about how everyone's head is in the sand and, you know, that there's nothing to do about it. And whatever, you know, he evolves as well. I'm not just saying he's staying in the same place. I'm just saying stuff happens and we can't explain it. And we don't need to explain it. And trying to explain it makes us get wrinkly in our faces. And if you want to stay young and beautiful, then stop racking your brains trying to figure out how the thing is working, because you won't be able to figure it out. You'll end up spending your whole life thinking about it, and then you'll come up with some stupid ass thing like everything didn't exist and it was tiny like a head of a pin, then all of a sudden boom and everything existed. You'll end up saying something ridiculous like that. Or probably even more ridiculous, I don't know. Anyway, that's my rant for the night. I don't know if I made any sense, and I don't particularly care. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope those of you that got to see your kids, and those of you that didn't, I hope that you're not too bitter about it. And yeah, I wish peace and happiness on everybody. Bye.